Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Okay, happy Tuesday everybody. Welcome mo sa ating program. Si SONNY LARAGAN po ito. Dito po sa Legal Advice Corner. Ayan. Nako, may surprise ho tayo ngayon. Napaka-sexy ho ng ating, yung pinaka-star of the show ho natin tonight. Maninibago ho kayo. And it's a very refreshing look, no? But anyway, good evening sa ating mga kababayan. Happy Tuesday ho sa ating mga kababayan sa apat na sulok ko ng United Kingdom. Siyempre, tuloy ka kabayan sa mga kababayan din ho natin na sa apat na sulok ho ng Europe, Europa, ng buong mundo. Welcome ho sa anumang bahagi ho kayo ng mundo. Naroroon, makihalo ho, makisaya, makisabay ho kayo, o makialam din. Makialam, no? To alam, hindi makialam na kundi alamin yung mga batas ho rito sa United Kingdom. So welcome ho sa lahat ng kababayan natin na nasa United Kingdom. Ganon din sa ating mga kababayan na sa iba't ibang bahagi ho, nasa labas ho ng United Kingdom. Welcome ho, tuloy lang ho kayo at makishare ho kayo rito. So, well, today is, ano ba ngayon? 7th ngayon, no? Bale, shall we say, is this the first, ito ba first Tuesday natin? O second Tuesday na to, no? Of the month yata, tama ba? Tama yata. First Tuesday. Tama pa? Tama yata. Okay. First Tuesday. So first time ng show ng Legal Advice Corner sa December, no? So, okay, syempre, ito ho yung ating star of the show, no? At sabi ko kayo na ho pumansin ho sa kanyang suot ngayon at kayo'y matutuwa ho. Dahil ibang-iba ho ang dating niya ngayon, talagang very alluring, no? Mga kaibigan, Brains and Beauty, no? Pinagmamalaki ho natin, the managing partner of Deo Volente Solicitors. It's none other, ladies and gentlemen, it's none other than Attorney DANNA QUINTO. Attorney, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Mr. LARAGAN. Thank you for the very kind introduction. Ako, tayo eh. Twinning tayo today. We're both in black.
In black, oo nga. Very sexy kasi in black, diba? Black is sexy, diba?
That's right.
But brown is cute. I don't know if you've heard the expression, black is sexy but brown is cute, no? Sabi nga nila.
Yeah.
Ganda naman I like your hair flowing and then nakasuot ka ng very sexy, how do you call that?
It's a turtleneck.
Oh, okay.
So,
a sleeveless turtleneck.
It's a sleeveless turtleneck.
Which makes you very sexy and beautiful tonight, Attorney. Yeah, we'll have to compliment you. Very nice attire. And you look very pretty tonight. Honestly, you look parang very blooming ka for tonight. You look very, maganda ka ngayon tonight.
Siguro yung booster shot ko, epekto ng booster shot.
Sabado. Tama, di ba?
Yes. Oh. I had my booster shot last Friday. So,
good for you.
Yeah, natulog lang ako buong Sunday.
Okay.
I thought at first, I said to Edgar dun sa comment ko dun sa pinost ko na, ay masakit lang yung yung arm ko. It was too early. I spoke too early kasi.
Why?
I think Sunday afternoon, I started feeling quite tired and I just slept. I really just slept through it, but I felt good. I felt, I slept through Sunday. I had like bits of headache, nothing major. It's
So,
more of the fatigue no Sunday.
after if ano yun,
And I
side effect
had
yun? Side effect yun? Side effect to one of the
side
side effect.
effect, side
Ah,
effect.
okay, okay.
And yun,
Okay.
quite noon kasi ano, AstraZeneca yung first two jabs ko, and then my booster was a Moderna. Yun yung nangyayari pala ngayon. You know, it's either Pfizer or Moderna yung
Ah, okay.
third shot, yung booster shot mo. So I really felt it sa arm ko. I didn't feel it no first two jabs ko. I
Mm-hmm.
was very chilled. I
Oo.
didn't feel anything on I felt a little bit, but much more much more
Oh.
prevalent yung heaviness ng arm, and I felt that.
Ah, wow.
So it's good kasi you feel it's
Good.
working.
So it actually
It
kicked
must be
in the
working.
following day. It kicked in talaga. The initial was parang
The
yung ano,
following day.
yung discomfort pag kung saan nakatusok, 'di ba, tinurukan. And then the following day
Really, and
was
parang yung
the
lymph nodes ko.
Oh, okay,
Para
okay.
din medyo ano yung lymph nodes ko, which is a known side effects pala
Side
kasi
effect.
syempre
Ah, okay.
nag-Google ako.
Well,
Kaya
buti ka pa,
yung
no? Ako,
naramdaman ko,
I'm trying to
nag-Google agad ako.
work out my booster kasi kayong dalawa ni Attorney Lira, meron na kayong mga schedules, no? And good for you. You've had it somehow, although you shouldn't be complacent, no? Pero at least, 'di ba, may feeling of protection ka maski paano compared to, 'di ba,
Exactly.
pag wala kang booster shot, especially with the
Pasko,
Omicron.
Pasko kasi. Yeah,
Oo, oo.
exactly. Pasko kasi ngayon. So,
Oh,
not
okay.
to mention the Omicron variant that's going around, and you just feel you need to do. It just feels like the responsible thing to do. So get the
Good.
vaccine, and it was
Tama.
very interesting. It
Get the
was really
vaccine.
quite interesting. Talaga natulog
So,
lang ako eh.
so natulog ka Saturday, Sunday, you didn't go out?
So, I know Friday, I went out Friday. I can show
Friday.
you. Yeah, Friday yon. I went to a Christmas party sa St. Albans with
Mm.
my previous
Ayan,
boss,
ito.
David,
Uy.
and David's wife, Kavita, and then my friend Viv.
O,
So,
teka,
with a few other people
direct
na wala sa
pa-expose
group.
lang habang kinikwento, hinahanap natin kung sino. So, David,
Yeah.
tapos wife Cavite yung nasa gitna.
Kavita
Tapos,
yung nasa
sino yung
gitna,
friend
yeah,
mo?
that's it. Si
And the other
Viv
friend,
yung
yung
nasa
blonde?
likod ko po. Yeah, that's it. We were actually in Harpenden. That is a
Ah,
rugby club.
Harpenden.
That's
Ah,
a
okay.
rugby club. So that's
Yes,
something
oo.
that we've been going to for years before ng
Really? Yung
pandemic. We've
rugby?
been going
Uy.
probably for eight or seven. Ako personally, I've been going for 8 or 7 years, and I didn't go for the last 2 years. I think the first year was because I can't remember, and the second was obviously because of the pandemic. So it was nice to see people, old
Yes.
contacts of mine in
Oh.
Albans. It was
Iba
really
feeling,
like,
Iba feeling, You're
yun, it
somebody
was
that you've
really,
not seen
yeah.
for a long time, and then and you were close, no? 'Di ba? Parang it's nice. It's nice.
It
I don't know.
really was.
Life, I think, especially now, 'di ba? Parang meron tayong not well, ano ba? Parang limitations sa movements natin. And when we get the
Yeah.
chance, parang wow, 'di ba? Parang it's really a welcome. It's welcome. It's a welcome change. Hindi man change, kundi
Very
welcome, no? It's a
refreshing.
welcome,
It's very
'di
refreshing.
ba? Oo.
Yeah.
So good.
Nakakatuwa. Kasi tayo,
Wow.
di ba, yung Christmas is a very big deal
Yes.
to our cultures. So it's really good. It was good. I felt quite. I felt a sense of normalcy after 2 years.
Mhm.
It's quite good to see people and talk to people that you haven't really seen for 2 years, and to see that they're fine, that they're okay, that they're well, and that they're also quite excited to
To
see
see
you.
you,
It's nice.
syempre, di ba?
Nakakataba ng
Oo.
puso. Nakakataba ng puso. It's very good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Teka muna, tanongin kita, attorney. Diyan ba sa Bedfordshire, where you're based, and where the office is based, one of the offices, or the main office ba sa Bedford?
Yes, that's right.
Because you have
Yes.
another one in
It's a
Luton, di ba? Oo, so okay.
Yeah,
So
but that's
dalawa
a
na
smaller
opisina ng
office.
ng Deo Volante Solicitors or DV Solicitors. Okay. Diyan ba sa Bedford, ano bang mga pinagmamalaking mga restaurant ba o good places to eat, no? Or to dine? Meron ba diyan sa Bedford?
Yes, there's a few places here. Bedford is very well known for the Italian community. So they've
Italian.
got very good Italian restaurants here. It's a
Okay.
huge Italian community, a very a long settled Italian community here. I think anyone who's been around this area, they always comment now, oh, there must be good Italian in Bedford. So quite good
Mm.
Italian places, very authentic. There's a nice it's a pub slash gastropub restaurant in front of the river. Yun ang maganda. It's just for
Okay.
the location. But other than that, it's quite good Italian. It's a very very good place for eating. It's a decent place for eating.
If you travel from your place to London, normally how long does it take you? You take the train going to London?
Yeah, that's
Isang
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
kaya pala kilala mo uy, ano ko si Cynthia Barker na ano pangalan nito?
Yeah.
Oo,
Lala natin
naalala ko, I was
rest
going
in
through some
peace.
some audio files,
Yeah.
and I what do you call this? I came across yung one of the adverts of Cynthia Barker's company, because they were the
Yes.
early advertisers na when started out, no? Naalala ko, alam ko
Yeah.
dumadaan doon, kaya parang kilala mo siya because it passes through, ano yung pangalan ng kanyang yung kanyang
Elstree and
constituent,
Bournemouth.
Elm Street and oh yeah,
Elstree.
oh. Is it along the
Elstree
route,
and
the
Bournemouth.
attorney going to
Exactly. Exactly. I
okay.
was I was in St. Albans then when I met her. So mas malapit kami sa isa't isa. We're literally neighbors in terms of town. 2 stops away lang ako from Elstree in Borehamwood. We
Mm.
have I think we were um, we were introduced by common friends, and also within St. Albans Hertfordshire area, it's a very small community, business community, as well as Filipino community. So I met her there. Very pleasant women. Very proud of her. I was so shocked, Mr. Laragan. As in,
Mm.
sobrang shocked ako
Yes.
kasi nag, yung may mga ano pa kami, hindi naman parati kami, but I think we touched base a few months before that. And also, I think nag-comment siya, one of yung when you featured me on the Yes magazine, and I was
Mm-mm.
trying to figure out when was the last. She commented, she made, nag-ano siya, "Oh, congratulations." She's always been very supportive. Yun ang maano ko sa kanya, very, very supportive. And sobrang na-shock talaga ako. She's well remembered, very fond of her, very proud of her na andun siya. Sinasabi ko sa kanya, kasi I've heard of her
Mm.
before that. So, when I met her, I was quite open na fangirl ako. I said, I'm quite a fan, and I'm very pleased to meet you. And ayun, since we've been contacts
Oh.
for a few years. I've attended her yung ano niya, yung ceremony for being a Rotary president, kasi and yun
Oh.
so very nearby
Mm-mm.
nearby St. Albans. So I've attended that. That's where I met Tito Ronald.
Sipat.
Going back to
Si Ronald
Sipat.
Sipat?
That's
Okay.
we
Oo,
were
very good friend of ours.
seatmates sa event na
Okay,
yun.
okay. Well, so
Yeah,
Cynthia,
it's
she's a friend. Well, sorry. Go ahead, please.
no, just na ano lang ako kasi pag mga ganito, you also remember absent friends, ano? And
Yes,
when
yes,
you
yes.
look at,
So,
special events like this, you look at the present friends and you look at the absent friends as well. It's time to reflect. Na ano lang din ako.
matibay
na
siya.
naantid din ako.
Matibay siya in the sense that when I say matibay, she knew that she already had it, and yet she made use of her life. No, she was going to events left and right. No, nobody knew. It was a shock. Actually, it was only the family knew about what the situation was. No, and on hindsight, doon ko lang na-realize, ganun pala. Si Cynthia kasi, hindi kami yung formal eh. Formal kami, we're friends. Pero whenever we see each other, I tease her. Yung binibiro, oy, ganda mo ngayon ha. Parang I tease her talaga. Parang hindi yung formal, Cynthia, how are you? Kumusta? Ganyan, no? Hindi, but I
Yeah.
tease her all the time. Parang, natutuwa, parang very friendly kasi kami na ako lang ha, I do most of the teasing, no? Sexy mo ngayon ha. Ano mo ngayon, no? And
And
I don't
she's
know if you know
very,
this.
do you remember? Very, siya, no, sorry, interrupted.
No, no,
Very,
no.
magkukumpa ako. She's always very well put together. Well,
Yes,
ano sa
yes.
kanya,
Oh,
she's always in very very well dressed. That's the comment.
nung manalo ng mayor yan, hindi ako magyayabang, ayoko magyabang ng attorney, but I was the first one to interview her to do the story on her winning the mayorship o mayoralty race diyan sa lugar nila. No, no, no.
Yeah.
When she became a counselor pala, I should say. The first
Counselor,
woman
yeah, that's
counselor,
the
yes.
first counselor.
So naiskupan ko
Yeah.
sila Danny Bonifay and Rose Eclarinal of ABS-CBN. I, for GMA, was the first ever to interview her. Also with Danny Favor of... is it Danny Favor? I don't know if you've heard of Danny Favor, yung first
Yeah, I've heard of
Filipino
him. Yes,
mayor.
I've heard of him.
Oo,
That's
yan,
right,
yan.
yes.
Oh, yan. Ako. So, si Cynthia ang first counselor na woman and then first Filipino woman mayor, no? So, na-interview ko sila, no? So, it's nice to remember a very good friend of ours. We really miss her dearly, no? Dahil iba yung presence niya. Pero ang bilib ako sa kanya, yung some people in sa ganong situation sa kanyang sakit na yon would be parang reticent na, 'di ba? Nasa tabi-tabi na lang, hindi na no. But she was still working at the council, 'di ba? She was the mayor, incumbent mayor at that time, no? When she passed away. So
That's right. That's
it's natin,
right.
no? Good, at least kakilala mo siya, naging friend mo siya o nakita kayo at one time or nagkasama-sama kayo. It's nice, no, to know that, no, na nagkakilala kayo. Nami-miss natin. We miss her. She's a very nice friend. Nice. Of course, si Jean Alcantara is a very good friend of mine, no?
Yes.
Yung magkapatid na yan. So, yeah.
Tito Jean, yes. Shout out kay Tito. He's also my Facebook friend. Nakikita ko na very good journalist.
Jean
He writes very well. He writes very yung mga niya. Very talented.
Mahusay sumulat yan. That's
Very
one of his
talented.
talents. Yun, si Jean. Talagang he writes, no? Very well. Yung kanyang anak na nagsusulat din. Yung kanyang daughter yata contributes sa Philippine Daily Inquirer, if I'm not mistaken, no?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Nakaka-proud, Mr. Laragan. I think, when we're talking about, kasi year-end na, medyo uso mag-reflect pag year-end, diba? And I'm sure we'll do this in the next few weeks as well. Ang aking observation with the Filipino community, it's really growing in terms, hindi lang growing in size, but also growing in terms of the ventures, business ventures, in terms of their mga employment achievements nila, NHS man, we've heard of the highest ranking Filipino this year na head siya ng isang NHS trust ata.
Yes.
And you can hear all of these achievements surrounding the Filipino community. Nakaka-proud talaga. We've come a long way in terms of making our mark here in the in the UK. Not just individually, but collectively as a group.
Yeah.
We've got a very good reputation as very hardworking people. Very conscientious and generous, friendly, smiley. And most importantly, talagang caring. I think yung trademark natin sa NHS na we care a lot. And that's the reason why ulit-ulit na pumupunta pa rin sila sa Pilipinas to recruit yung mga kababayan natin to go here. Nakaka-proud. It's such I'm quite proud.
You're right, no? Because that raises the profile of Filipinos. Kamukha na sinasabi mo na nurse, ano siya ano pa? Direct, ano pangalan nun? Yung interview natin, si Ed, yung para sa ating NHS, because he became our voice. Edmund, direct, ano pangalan nun? Yung Edmund Tabay? Edmund Tabay nga ba? Yeah. We had Edmund Tabay, Director of Nursing, University Hospital, Sussex. Pilipino yan. And imagine yung napakalaking trust siya may hawak. Pero, ikaw din, attorney, we're proud of you because you are the managing partner of a law firm, an international law firm in a way, because iba-iba kayong mga tao dyan, di ba? Iba-ibang nationalities o iba-ibang, hindi naman kayo lahat na puro Pinoy o lahat isang lahi lang. International group kayo, no? And for you to be the head of that, isa rin yan, you're raising the profile of Filipinos in the UK. Ikaw mismo, hindi na tayo palalayo pa. Andiyan na lang, sa tabi-tabi, kausap natin. No? Ito lang, ayan, si attorney. Ayan, talagang bow tayo.
Thank you.
Okay. O, teka muna, tingnan natin baka may babati sa iyong ipabati natin. O, hulaan muna. Yung mga babati, baka i-acknowledge yung ganda ng suot mo, no? Dahil talagang very sexy attorney, ha? So, nice combination. Okay. Alamin natin, sino sa palagay mo unang babati sa atin? Parang, yung little game that we play, di ba? Sino kaya? Because we try to acknowledge people who greet us, no?
Exactly.
So, ina-acknowledge. Sino sa hula mo? Sige, attorney.
I'm gonna go a little bit off-piste, kumbaga. Hindi yung
Okay.
usual ko na choice. Kasi ilang beses na ako na nito. Edgar Duway. I have a gut feeling na hindi man
Edgar
first, but probably nasa podium si Edgar Duway. But I don't know. Kasi
Maaaring hindi ka
ilang
nalalayo
weeks
because
na to
sometimes we would be
Yes,
surprised.
oo.
Edgar Duway, di ba? No? Last week ba? Basta itong recently.
Si Edgar Duway.
Di ba? Nanalo siya. Nanalo in the sense na siya nauna. O sige, let's try. So Edgar Duway, uhula natin. Sige, tignan natin kung tama si attorney. Yes, direct.
So look.
Sponsor natin. No? Uy, nasa YouTube.
Oliver Fernandez.
Please watch us on
Nasa
YouTube. We really encourage you to watch us on
Yeah.
YouTube para sa maliwanag. Sige, pakibasa nga attorney. Hindi ko mabasa yan. Direct ka.
From
Sige.
Oliver Fernandez, he's saying a cold and foggy morning here in the Pacific Northwest. That's
Yeah.
sa USCL, Oliver. Lovely to hear from you again, Attorney Donna, Kuya Sonny, and Direk Pao. Hope everyone has already started their
Yes.
Christmas shopping. Yes?
Christmas shopping.
okay.
O nga pala, Christmas
Fan
shopping.
ako ng online shopping, Mr. Laragan. So,
Ano yan?
nag-umpisa na.
Nag-umpisa ka na.
Online shopping.
Okay, online shopping. Okay, online shopping. Yeah, that's the best way to do, no? To do your shopping. Pero would kailan ang most likely na safe ka pa para para hindi ka magkaroon doon sa, 'di ba, yung mga deliveries, yung maipit?
Yeah.
Should it be on or before this week matapos? Kaya
I think, and this will actually, kasi marami tayong that's part of the contract too, and I will isi-segue ko dun sa topic natin.
Oh yeah, o nga pala. Oo.
Isi-segue ko dun sa topic natin.
Ano topic natin, attorney?
Topic natin is COVID-19 and contracts. And I'm gonna give 10 practical tips.
Ayan.
Just generally about handling contracts or being a part of contract, any contract, more on practical. I'll talk about a little bit ng the academic side of it very, very quickly para hindi naman kayo ma-shock just in case na ma-encounter niyo yung mga legal principles na to. But most importantly, ang takeaway talaga are these 10 practical examples. And with this, sabi ni Mr. Laragan, ano ba yan? Kailan ba ako kailangan mag-Christmas shopping? And this is a tip, a practical tip. Every shop ay meron silang last day of shipping or last day to order so that it can make it before your Christmas day. So different yan per shop, different per
different for shops online. Are these things indicated?
Online,
indicated yan, attorney? Indicated yan online? Let's say, for example, say, this is the deadline, for your gifts to be able to make it. Okay, all right.
Look at the FAQs. Look at the Christmas shopping guide. Most of them would have an indication kung taga-Ireland ka, taga-UK ka. And I would suggest give it a bit of cushion of 2 to 3 days kasi hindi mo rin alam kung ano yung mangyari. The Royal Mail might be a bit slower because of the volume. Royal Mail as well provides a guide kung kailan ang deadline nila, so you can send postcards, packages, so that you can make it before Christmas. So ang practical tip doon, basahin natin yung guide nila for Christmas shopping.
Buti binanggit mo yan. Kasi importante yan, di ba? Para so you can strategize, you can plan, di ba? O kasi baka naman dumating pa after Christmas or next New Year na, yung pagkatapos na natin, parang wala, okay pa rin. Tika lang, mas maganda yung dating talaga bago magpasko, di ba? Okay.
Bago magpasko.
Sige, so si Oliver from Washington State, no? ang ating unang ano. So, sino pangalawa natin? Hulaan mo lang din, katuan lang. Next.
Marian Galicia Paner. Babalik na ako sa YouTube.
Marian Galicia Paner. Okay, let's direct. Yan ang hinihintay ko kay direct.
Sound kay direct.
Oh, na-miss niya isang ano lang. Oo, tama ka, attorney, ha? Okay.
Sayang. I did vote for you, Ed. Akala ko una ka.
Oo
So.
nga. Hindi, kasi nakaka-surprise na si Edgar, no? Nauna siya, I don't know, once or twice yata. So, nakakatuwa din. So, tama rin. You're correct, no? Yung magandang gabi, DQ. Ayan. Ano yan? May love ba yan? May heart?
Yes.
DQ and SL. Ayan. O sige, pakibasa yung susunod, attorney.
Yung susunod naman is, sino ba? Ma'am Cora Carsola!
Uy, si Ma'am
Si
Cora.
Tita Cora.
Oo.
Oh, hello Sir Sonny, Attorney Donna, and all. Magandang gabi. Friend ko na si Tita Cora sa Facebook eh. So,
yeah.
shout out to Tita Cora
Oo.
Carsola.
Yes, si Ma'am Cora. Okay.
Ma'am
Hello,
Cora.
yes.
Hello.
Ang school, ano
Edward.
yan? Teacher siya mismo sa eskwelahan namin sa Manila.
In Notre Dame of
in Notre Dame,
Manila,
yeah. Nasa
right?
grade school teacher siya, nasa high school ako. So, ayan.
Wow.
Kaya mabuhay ka, Ma'am Cora.
Edward
We love you.
Duay.
Uy, ayan. Ako,
We love
ito na.
you.
Ate pa.
Edward
Sige,
Duay,
Edgar, duway mo na.
Dagdag Kaalaman Day mula sa pinagpipitagan at may dalisay na puso at tawa. Attorney Hyper DQ. And sa legendary broadcaster ng bayan, Sonny LARAGAN. Magandang gabi sa mga manonood. Hi, lol, wow!
Ayan. Parang bagay. Okay, parang bagay broadcast ng bayan. LARAGAN.
Ganda.
Bayan, LARAGAN. Tapos kaibigan.
broadcaster ng bayan.
Ang inyong kaibigan, Sonny LARAGAN. Okay pala, pwede palang tumakbo tayo ng senador, no? Kaibigan, senador. Okay, LARAGAN. Okay.
Tatakbo ka ba, Mr. LARAGAN?
Hindi naman tayo. Hindi pa. Well, hindi pa tayo. Wala naman tayo siguro balak na yan. Wag muna. Magulo yan. Okay. Uy, si Ma'am Cora ulit. Ayan.
Ma'am Cora. Let's see. Yes, very alluring, sexy. At ang shirt ni Sir Sonny, wowy din, exactly. Twinning
Yes,
tayo,
pareho kami
Mr.
black.
LARAGAN.
Black. We were wearing black, no? Ayan. I was planning on wearing a red sweater, no? Or jumper yata kung tawagin dito. Pero sabi ko hindi, magbabago ako. Okay. Oh,
That's
ayan.
right.
Nagbabatian na sila.
Nagbabatian na sila. Edgar Duay says to Ma'am Cora Carsola, magandang gabi po. Emeline Rafael, yuhu! Hinahanap ka na, Ma'am Emeline Rafael. Nood na. Darmin Valerion, nood na. And get well soon. Yes, Darmin's not feeling very well.
She's not feeling well. Okay. Darmin, pagaling na. Get well soon, ha? Yan. Ito na. Hinahanap si Emeline Rafael. Speaking of the angel, the angel is here, no? Okay.
Speaking of... Mom
she's feeling
Emeline Rafael says, good evening, Sonny and Attorney Donna. Happy Tuesday to you both and everyone. At naka-all caps tayo.
Yes. So ibig sabihin, she's feeling well, no? Abu Dhabi yan. Watching from
Abu Dhabi.
Oo.
Abu Dhabi,
Gano'ng malayo kaya Abu Dhabi? From Abu Dhabi to Dubai, no? Baka pwede natin puntahan si Emeline sa Abu Dhabi tapos dadalhin tayo sa Dubai. Ayan.
Pagkatapos ng Omicron variant.
Oo nga.
May bago Sonia Padilla Williams. Good evening, Attorney
Sonia.
Donna and Sir.
Parang female version ko niyan. Ako si Sonny, siya si Sonia, no? Sonia, taga-saan ka, Sonia? Because it's nice to know where you're from, no? Dahil, syempre, di ba, bumabati lang. It's nice to know kung nasan kayo nakabase. Kunyari, I'm watching from wherever, no? Wherever you're watching from. Si Edgar Duwa yata may pagbati. Edgar?
Exactly. Edgar? 23 days na lang, birthday mo na. Kung gusto mong regalo. World peace lang at world health. Yun lang ang aking gustong regalo. Talking about mga travels and may bagong update na naman. Binalik na naman po ang pre-departure test sa mga traveling to UK. So if you're coming to the UK, you are required to take a pre-departure test, which could be a PCR and a lateral flow test.
Pre-departure from the country of origin kung saan ka nagaling. So for example, if you went to Spain, you'll have to have a pre-departure check nun? Pabalik dito? Ganun ba?
Correct. Whether you're vaccinated or not, you have to do a pre-departure within 48 hours of you coming into the UK, and then again, once you landed, you have to do another, but this one a PCR test within 48 hours
On
again.
day
So
2.
nagsistrict na naman ang
Wow. I
your
remember that when
travel
we
program.
traveled sometime in August, it was quite an expensive trip. We spent
Yes.
siguro roughly about 400 pounds for tests alone.
For testing
200
alone,
pounds equivalent euros, although 200 pounds sa sa Europe, and then more than 200 pounds dito sa mga over 400 pounds. Magastos.
Magastos.
So ang
Magastos.
ibig sabihin, if you're, so kunyari ikaw, pupunta tayo ng anywhere, Europe, o, di ba nagpunta yata sa, hindi ko alam kung Croatia, pinuntahan nila Emmeline dati dahil parang maluwag, no? Pagbalik mo, you have to have a pre-departure test doon sa, kunyari sa Croatia, no? Before you come back.
Correct.
That's how it is.
Correct.
Okay,
That's
okay.
new. That is new. That was over the weekend. I think Saturday or Sunday.
Uh-oh.
That was announced by the government. That's the newest added restriction.
Wow.
Travel
Ang mahal
restrictions
kasi the last trip ko sa Spain, we weren't required to have this pre-departure thing. We just arrived. When we arrived, we just had our
Yeah,
day 2, ano, 'di ba? Day 2 in 48 hours is
48
sabi mo, day 2 na ano. Wow, grabe. Anyway, ingat-ingat lang ho tayong lahat, no? Mag-ingat
Ingat po
lang ho
tayo.
tayo. Okay, sino tong ano?
Oh, Edgardo Cagastian
Oy!
Enriquez. Good evening, Mr. Laragan.
Yating reporter.
Happy Tuesday to all. Northern
Yes.
line is busy going south. This is Edgardo reporting. Over and out.
Ayun.
Maraming salamat.
Saan ka ba? Teka muna, going south. Pauwi ka ba? Saan ka ba? Hindi ka ba dati nasa parang ang tawag
Wharf
dito sa may Canary Wharf yung area? Diba? Work
Yeah.
yata siguro niya sa Canary Wharf. Pero ang bahay mo ba nasa south ng Northern Line? Morden? Morden ba? Northern Line? Hindi ko alam kung Morden.
Mr. Laragan is trying to figure out where your home is.
Oo nga, kung saan nakabase. Hindi, kung saan siya nakabase. Kung siya ba kasi southern, going south daw direction. So kung Northern Line, north, syempre. Southern is sa baba.
Yeah,
Alam ko sa baba,
going,
nasa ano yan, sa mga, tama ba yun? Morden. Ayan. Okay, so Sonia Williams is telling us where she's from now, no? Parang,
London. Ayun, talking about
ayun.
Londoners.
Oo,
Yeah,
galing London. Oo.
ayun.
First time mo bang
Dami.
manood, Sonia?
Oh, Darmin is here. Magandang
Oh, Darmin.
gabi po
Oh,
sa
yeah.
inyo.
Gumaling na kaya?
Kamusta
Oy.
ka, Darmin?
Darmin, pagaling ka. Oh, talking of pagaling, no? Bukod pa kay Darmin, si Sol, no? Si Sol, Marisol Pimentel, she's under the weather, no? So sana gumaling na kagad para mas mabuti pag Christmas time. Lahat ho tayo mag-ingat, magtakip-takip ko kayo, wag kayong sisipon. Normally sipon flu, ganyan ang pinakaano rito ngayon eh.
Good one.
Winter
Yes.
time. Malamig ang weather.
That's right.
Ikaw ba? Ay, kayo attorney, hindi ka what do you call this? Hindi ka thermal wear, no? Hindi ka nag-thermal sa ano, no? Wala kang ano, no?
Hindi naman po.
Hindi uso sa iyo,
naman.
dahil nasa opisina ka. So, okay.
Yeah.
Pagka
It's quite warm.
It's quite warm. Okay. Okay. Malamig ba dyan sa ano? Anong weather nyo kanina dyan sa Bedford?
Malamig kaninang umaga. I think really early morning. Now it's 7 degrees Celsius, but earlier today, definitely siguro near 0, near 1. I don't know, but it felt really cold nung umaga. Talagang parang, alam mo yung paglabas mo dry cold. Yung talagang nanunuot sa buto yung
Wow.
lamig.
Really,
That was it earlier. But
Pero is it
got
wet?
warm.
Rainy dyan? Kasi dito sa London, in our part, southwest London, maulan because of, I don't know kung apektado tayo ng storm Bara. Bara ba yan? Bara?
Yeah.
Oo.
Yes, may storm.
May another storm
There was
coming.
a slight rain. There was a slight rain, but not so much. I don't
Okay.
think hindi kami nakagip dito sa Bedford, but I think yung areas, some parts of London, some parts of Kent, yung dun sa east side, And then pataas sa norte, sila yung
Sila yung may
nahagilid.
tama.
So, ingat
Oh,
po
may tama
kayo.
ka naman.
Ingat sa mga kababayan natin
Ingat.
na nasa
Yes.
norte. Ingat lang po.
Ingat tayo. Tapos, I also suggest to siguro mga vitamin C's, no? Mga zinc, anything that will boost yung
Yes,
immune
meron ako
system
dito.
nyo. Mura lang naman sa mga Asda, sa mga Sainsbury's, sa mga Tesco yan. Merong mga vitamins. Di ba? Ano yan, attorney? Ano yung pinapakita mo? Vitamin C yan, no?
Vitamin C yan. Vitamin C.
Natuwa ba? Ano yung tinutunaw? How do you do that nga pala?
Tinutunaw.
Tinutunaw ba sa tubig
How
yan?
do I do that? Tinutunaw. Lagyan natin. Mag-ano tayo.
Parang ano yan? Parang maliit na ano yan? Yung parang bilog na parang...
Yeah. And then,
Okay.
I just-
Ganyan lang kakonti yung tubig mo yung gagamitin mo?
dadagdagan ko pa po yan.
Okay.
Bakit
Is that
po ba?
vitamin C? Okay. Meron ako niyan dati. Meron ako dati. Ano pangalan yan? Anong brand yan?
Just normal. Yung meron kami kasi tabing Lidl dito. So,
Sa Lidl
you know,
yan. Oh.
I normally buy vitamin C sa mga team members kung may habit ako.
Okay.
Para
Pero
akong
good yan.
nanay.
Good yan.
Para
It's
akong-
really good.
Para akong nanay, ako yung tagabili ng vitamin C sa mga team members ko. So pag bibili ako, hindi lang sa akin. So
Okay. Teka, tanong ko lang. Curious lang ako, attorney. Curious lang ako, no? Because mahilig ka uminom ng vitamin C. You make it a habit talagang, consistent, regular, pag inom mo ng... Okay.
As much as
Hindi
I can.
kasi nga ang vitamin C daw, yan ang parang it helps in forming yung collagen. Iyan siguro ang sikreto mo, attorney, because you have that eternal young looking look, di ba? Yeah.
may namin ako, Mr. Laragan. Nagko-collagen vitamin po ako.
Galing naman. Very good. Ano, saan mo binibili yan? Superdrug, Lidl?
Online vitamin.
Online. Okay. Hindi kasi meron tayong friend na model. Good. Hindi kasi may friend tayong model na vitamin C nga madalas because nga it helps in producing collagen, di ba? Yun ang skin ng tao. Kaya pala yan ang sikreto ni attorney. Ayan, naku, marami nang bibili ng collagen online. Ano yan?
Nakakatulong daw po sa immune system, yung collagen. So, the same with vitamin C. It helps generally your system to be a bit better. So,
How do you call it?
you know.
Collagen tablets? Or how do you call it? Paano?
Collagen lang. Google. It's quite easy to find online.
Okay. Is it on Amazon? You buy it? Where do you usually buy it?
Amazon. Depende kung ano yung
Depende.
pinakamabilis.
Okay. Kaya pala.
Meron rin ako sa Amazon. Meron din sa
Okay.
Holland Barrett.
That's nice to hear. Akala ko vitamin C lang because really vitamin C aids in yung parang producing collagen. Pero nag-ano ka, which is good, nagko-collagen ka rin. That's good. Kaya pala very blooming at looking very youngish. So, very good.
It's
Very
good
good.
for the joints as well, Mr. Laragan. So, because
Really?
I used to run a lot. It's really that.
Collagen is good for the joints as well?
The bones, for the joints. Yun yung collagen talaga eh. Yun talaga yung nag-aano, you keep joints healthy.
So, hindi ba yan chondroitin ba yan? Chondroitin? Have you heard of it?
As well.
But have you heard of that? Have you heard of what you sinasabi ko? Yung sulfate, something
Yeah, I've heard of that.
glucosamine, sulfate, and chondroitin. Okay,
That's right.
sige.
COQ3 or something.
Oh.
But collagen is twofold. Yes, it keeps hair, skin healthy, but equally it keeps your joints
Okay.
healthy too. So,
All right.
for people who run a lot, ganun. So, yun.
Okay. All right. Si Sonia, sabi niya, first time daw. Okay, binabanggit pa ni attorney. Nakita ko lang kasi may message. Sonia Williams, sabi niya, first time pala niya. So, thanks for watching, no?
Tuesday.
Oo,
Tuloy po
yan.
kayo.
Tapos si Emily Rafael, bago tayo mag-break, ayan, dito, pati isa pa, no? Dito, libre ang PCR kahapon. Okay, ayan, si
PCR
Edgardo,
kahapon.
ayan, okay. Working in Canary Wharf, going to our, asan yan? House in Lower Morden, tama ako. Morden kasi ending yan eh. Probably, ano yan, attorney? Pakibasa lang.
Probably in the next following days, people may be allowed to work from home. That is just my opinion. Kasi nga,
Because of the
Omicron variant.
the Omicron variant. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for informing us. So alam na natin ang lugar ni nasa Lower Morden. Ang work niya nasa Canary Wharf. So isang line lang, napakaswerte niya. Isang line lang, hindi siya siguro magpapalipat-lipat siguro, no? Pagbaba niya, nandun siya kagad sa trabaho niya. More or less.
That's right.
Okay.
More
Oh,
or less.
we're gonna have a short break. Nako, maganda ho yung sinasabi ni tama-tama, very timely, no, tungkol sa mga shopping, no, and finding out kung kailan talaga ang mga last days of parang sending or buying or whatever, no. Pero yun nga, discuss the attorney, no. Tama ba yun, attorney?
Yes,
This is
and
about
also,
COVID-19
COVID-19 and contracts.
Oh,
And
contracts.
sometimes, yun nga yung minsan, ang main concern ngayon, paano kapag nagka-lockdown na naman? Or ano yung karamihan ng unang lockdown, ang daming kontrata na mahirap na gawin, or lots of the flights have to be moved, weddings have to be moved. Minsan may sitwasyon, you entered into contract, it's hard to perform the contract because of certain situations like COVID. And ano yung law that would be triggered kung gano'n ang sitwasyon. And then moving on from that, we're now in second, third, fourth wave. What are the practical tips? Kasi makikita mo na before, sasabihin nila, unforeseeable yung COVID. So, we may have an excuse for not performing the contract. But now, obviously, we're in a different landscape. Medyo sanay na tayo. Marami ng mga naka-include sa mga kontrata natin covering COVID situations. Generally, what is the best thing to do? What are practical tips? When you're wanting to go abroad, wanting to go on holiday, wanting to book a venue, not just in the next 3 or 4 weeks, but next year. Ano yung sa isip mo? Baka makancel, baka magka-lockdown, ano na naman ang mangyayari? These are just practical tips how to handle that general anxiety, concerns about entering contracts during COVID-19 times.
Okay, ayan. So ayan meron ng pasakali si attorney. So we're gonna have a short break, and when we come back, yung pinagpapaliwanag, no? Ano ba yan? Kakasal ka, babiyahe ka, masalimot, no? So you will now get to know how you should, act during this time, no? Na merong COVID-19. Siyempre, may mga kontrata, may mga gagawin ka, no? Travel, getting married, having an, organizing an event, or anything. Pag-uusapan ho natin. So, wag ho kayo nga alis. Pagbalik ho natin, ayan ho ang tatalakayin ni attorney, COVID-19 and contracts. Saglit po lamang.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, serbisyong mapagkakatiwalaan, serbisyong maaasahan pagdating sa inyong mga padalang balikbayan boxes. Dito ka na sa Forex Cargo. Sa presyong kayang-kaya ng bulsa, sigurado ka pa sa inyong padala. Forex Cargo. Dahil kailangan makarating. Call 0208-813-7064. O, ano pang inaantay niyo mga kabayan? Tayo na sa Forex Cargo.
%100% all natural, tasty, healthy, versatile, 4 unique flavors. Taste a real sauce. Galettos.
May problema ka ba sa landlord mo? Baka AV ka na ni Kuya. May problema sa mga kapitbahay, sa trabaho. O kaya naman kay Mister o kay Mrs. Away tungkol sa mala, mga may utang, mga aksidente, daing o laban sa ospital or sa NHS, harassment, o baka naman may stalker ka na gusto mong ireklamo. Punta na sa DV Solicitors para matulungan ka pagdating sa mga litigations at iba pang mga legal concerns. DV Solicitors at 2nd floor, Howard House, St. John Street, Bedford, MK42 0DJ. Tumawag sa 01234-350-244 or 01234-225-188 o kaya naman mag-email sa d.quinto@dvsolicitors.com. Visit our website at www.dvsolicitors.com.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Okay, nagbabalik ho tayo dito sa ating palatuntunan. Ako po si Sonny LARAGAN on a Happy Tuesday dito po sa Legal Advice Corner. Siyempre, hindi ho ko ang star of the show. Ang star of the show, yung napaka-sexy ho siya ngayon, napakaganda. No? Talaga nga namang, and of course, yun ang paganda, no? Brains and beauty. Mga kaibigan, once again, siyempre, let's call on our lawyer ng bayan natin, no? ng Pinas, ng UK. Walang iba kundi si Attorney DANNA QUINTO. Attorney, good evening once again.
Good evening, Mr. LARAGAN. Good evening, everyone. Magandang gabi sa mga taga-subaybay natin. Remote social bubble.
Yes.
Here we are, coming up to 2 years. We're still here.
Wow.
Pang
Oo nga,
ilang
no?
wave na, pero andito pa rin
Oo
tayo.
nga. Oo nga.
Going
Wow.
strong, eh? Going strong tayo. So,
Ayan, nako. Oo nga, no? Bilang mo, ito yung presence natin for almost 2 years na, di ba? 2 years na, di ba?
Exactly.
Oh, kasi it happened
Exactly.
in 2000. Well, we started it was 2018 yata, December when things happened, di ba? Nagkakaroon na. And then January ng 2019 nagsisimula na, di ba? And then that was it na.
2019,
No? Tapos we started this
2020.
sometime mga June, kailan ba? June, May.
March ata tayo
March
nag-umpisa.
March of 2019.
And then,
Imagine mo yun.
oh, magto 2022 na.
2022 na. Okay. Sige.
We've hoped to support yung kababayan natin during the pandemic, and that's the reason why ito yung topic natin ngayon, Mr. LARAGAN. It's really at the back of everyone's mind
Ayan.
ever since nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic, ng restrictions, where everything changed. Lahat ng the life as we know it changed. Before March 2020, I say March 2020 kasi yun ang restrictions when pretty much our life was on suspense. Ang daming kontrata, ang daming booking, ang daming flights, ang daming facets ng life natin na either na-suspend for a while or talagang hindi na natin magawa for a lot of reasons. You know, most of it were because it was unsafe. It was because sometimes it's because may restriction, may lockdown. And most of the time it's because it's either very hard or very almost impossible to deliver yung performance natin sa obligation. Practical examples, you know, nung unang nagkaroon ng lockdown, ang daming flights na na-cancel. You know, ang daming nagkaroon ng lockdown, ang daming venues that would have to close down for a little while. I myself, you know, I made a running event that did not happen, and on that occasion they had to move it. A lot of Filipinos, may mga clients ako who asked help for reaching out about their flights, you know, rebooking or getting a refund from flight carriers. Also, weddings. That was in the first lockdown. That's a lot of issues about wedding venues. May deposit na, hindi alam kung kailan rebook uli. Some of them wants the money back. Ano ba to? Anong area of law ba ang parating nati-trigger in this circumstances? I'm gonna touch two principles of law. What you will get from it at the end, and bibigyan ko na kayo ng konting spoiler alert, is walang eksaktong sagot. And that's the reason why yung two academic principles na yun will be followed up by 10 practical guidelines. Kung always ang sasabihin ni Dana, depende, whatever the situation, we go to the practical problem solving. What is it really that can help you in this time of global, of pandemic, of this global health concern, where in a matter of 2 weeks, nag-iba na naman uli yung mundo natin. 2 weeks ago, you're able to go to Europe, come back with minimal testing, minimal restriction. You're able to go to South Africa, and then suddenly, ang dami na namang restrictions ulit. So, what do you need to know? How do you need to approach your contracts? Maliit man, malaki, big booking, small booking man yan. These are the practical examples. So we're going to walk a little bit back to the academic. You may have heard of this principle dahil ito yung parating umiikot-ikot sa mga news articles, legal articles. It was very, very much mentioned during the first lockdown. Force majeure. That's really that's an act of God. Force majeure, normally nasa clauses yan, nasa kontrata mo, that certain events, unforeseeable events, may excuse a party for doing their obligation on a contract or suspend the contract until a certain time. So, mostly in flights, or you see sometimes, act of terrorism, natural disasters, but no one really thought about putting a global pandemic there. Before 2020, very rarely would you see a global pandemic there. It has been argued na some actually did say na, it's not that unforeseeable. Nakita yung mga scientists, they said, well, it happens every 100 years, what can you expect? And then others say, well, ganun din naman yun sa earthquake, diba? It happens every few years. Although it is settled now that sa case law, it is more likely than not na hindi mo na madi-deny na it was unforeseeable. The severity of the situation ng pandemic was in such a way na hindi natin lahat na foresee. This is quite an uncharted territory. When you have something like that, yung force majeure clause, hanapin mo yun sa kontrata. Hanapin mo, may force majeure clause ba yan? Always, ang starting point mo is kontrata. The contract in itself, kung ano yung ano yung deal, ano yung agreement mo, that's where you start. So you have a look at ano yung mangyayari in case of this certain situations. Some of it offers options, pwede mong you can suspend obligation until okay na. Some of it may allow one party to walk away from the contract, but the point being is that it should be in there. Nakalagay doon kung ano yung dapat yung napagkasunduan nyo at ano yung options nyo. Now, not all the time either maayos yung pagka-draft ng force majeure, that's the name of the clause. Not all the time applicable siya. There are certain situations, much more during pandemic, okay, nag-act of God, but actually, it's more than that. It made the contract frustrated. I think frustrated is not just an emotional term, it's actually a legal principle. The legal principle of frustration, wherein yung performance of the contract is not possible due to a legal hindrance. For example, the lockdown or yung government restriction in that case. Like in my example, we were supposed to have a running event. I paid for it. I didn't train for it much kasi nakita ko na magkaka-lockdown na. But a lot of other people trained for it. However, the government decided they can't do it. So they moved it to the next year. By law, frustration can actually discharge the contract. You can end the contract. Sometimes you may have an option to get some monies out. If you're one party, there are options sometimes for you to get a refund or to have some redress. But again, it depends on the case. Ang takeaway dun sa dalawang academic principles na yon, and Mr. Laragan has actually mentioned that later on, it's very convoluted. It's very complicated. People tend to argue kung ano yung mangyayari. And by the fact na unforeseeable siya, or this is quite an extraordinary circumstance by the principle of it, is most of the time, parehong partido ang injured, pareho yung nagkakaroon ng kompromiso. So you've got two very, quite disappointed parties kasi either yung isa yung magbayad and the other one is wanting the contract to happen, or there's a level of uncertainty in the future. We've had that. Siguro lahat tayo, lahat ng nanonood ngayon, lahat ng tao na who had one for at least a contract siguro na naapektuhan ng pandemya. Isipin nyo, ano ba yun yung dapat na mangyari, whether it was a Christmas booking, whether it was a flight natin, uwi sana ng Pilipinas, but I had to move it a number of times, or I wanted the refund, but ayaw nilang i-refund. Remember those things. Remember those situations na it wasn't quite clear. Hindi ganon ka-clear cut. Number one is that I think for the last 100 years, this is the first time in the modern history, the last one was 1918, na we were faced with such unforeseeable event that really affected all facets of life. When the contracts before 2020 were not quite prepared for it, and therefore a lot of the problems, a lot of the issues were solved by the classic common sense problem solving and trying to make sure that everyone gets out of the problem in one piece with some goodwill preserved on both parties. What does that exactly mean? I think a lot of, and from my experience, a lot of it went into the route of negotiating. Siguro kung naisip nyo, you had to talk to your flight carrier, you had to talk to the restaurant, you had to talk dun sa holiday provider nyo. Some are more reasonable than others. The reason being is that they still need the customers after the pandemic. They don't want to be remembered as the organization who was very unreasonable during the pandemic. And some of them are not quite nice, not quite as generous, but a lot of the issues, the legal issues, were really determined by a classic discussion or problem solving, which will help you in terms of how to handle contracts from now on. Na may pandemic pa rin, some companies do argue kasi force majeure. I spoke about unforeseeable. I spoke about supervening event. This is an act of God, or this is, a frustrated event because this is a new thing that was introduced by the government. Other people will argue, hey, hindi na yun unforeseeable. Pang-apat na natin na wave to eh. Alam mo na magkakaroon ng lockdown pag biglang may umikot na naman na variant. Alam mo na potentially we would have to cancel bookings. We would have to cancel flights, rebook flights, and adjust our contracts should something happen very quickly. We've seen that happen in the last 2 weeks. I've seen that personally. We booked for a staycation. My friends and I, we booked for a staycation. Even as far back as September or October, we were still thinking about paano pag nagka-lockdown? Ano yung cancellation terms natin? What can we do? How can we protect ourselves? And I'm going to talk about that later on. The same way when, book for travel, I told Mr. Laragan I was hoping to travel. I'm still hoping to travel at the end of December. But I'm keeping an eye on yung bagong regulation, whether I can travel or not. A lot of people actually can't travel because of other countries' restrictions. Spain, for example, does not allow unvaccinated young people, children, to travel to them. So what does, I think it's Ryanair ATA or EasyJet, one of the flight carriers said, don't worry. If you're affected, don't worry about arguing or negotiating. We're going to instantly refund your ticket. So you see a lot of flexibility. You see a lot of this hybrid models. Hybrid, I mean, much more flexible, ready to adapt to the situation at hand. Because the reality is that the situation at hand is very, very volatile, easy to change. Maybe next week, we don't know what the government will say about mixing, about flights, about travels. So you can see a lot of other organizations tailoring, almost being proactive in their contracts, almost saying, well, don't worry about it. We want your business next time. We want to be nice to you. We're going to be proactive. Instead of arguing with all of you, we're going to offer this, and that. So those are, what you should really be, for me, those are the things that I find quite interesting. From a legal point of view, there's that proactivity that I probably haven't seen in the aviation industry for years. But as a consumer, for us, the businesses, how can we protect ourselves? How can we deal with this when we're buying a flight ticket, when we're trying to think, ay, gusto ko mag-Europe, Mr. LARAGAN might want to go to Spain, when you want to go on a staycation, paano pag nagka-lockdown na naman? Paano pag nagka-restrictions? When you want to book something, when you want to do something or enter in any sort of contract, may project ako, what would happen if suddenly I can't go from Lower Morden to Bedford? What's going to happen? And the first thing is practical point number 1. Before you enter a contract, read it first. Hanapin mo kung may force majeure clause ba? Ano ba yung sinasabi doon? Minention ba yung pandemic? Read the cancellation terms. Last day to cancel. Especially if you're booking for a staycation, if you're booking for a flight abroad or even abroad, most of them have very, very quite flexible cancellation terms. If you don't like the cancellation terms, negotiate. Sabihin mo, look, it's the pandemic. Pwede bang, can we cancel as close as possible? And then put it on your diary. Lagay mo, huwag mo lang basahin. Lagay mo din dun sa diary mo. If you've got a phone, lagay mo dun put a reminder on it. Cancellation due on this date. So if you're buying something, if this is something na, like, for example, ngayong pandemic, read returns, everything, yung mga COVID day. Most of the countries have a COVID policy. Dami na, they've upgraded, they've looked at, they've reviewed their current contracts, and they made sure that it's up to date with the current landscape. So do that. Read refund clause, kung may mga refund clause sa mga flight tickets. Sometimes may mga insurance that you can travel insurance that you can get that will protect you from cancellation. So that's quite a good idea. Depende kung gaano din siya kamahal, if it's worth it. But the most important thing is basahin. Basahin, take note, put it in your diary, make sure na alam mo, ganito, ito pala yung last day ko mag-cancel. So I have to check kung ano nangyayari sa mundo shortly before that, so I can make appropriate decisions before that. If talagang wala, and we will talk about that, if talagang naipit ka, na tapos na yung cancellation, we'll talk about that. We will give you a practical example. Second, if it's not clear, kung hindi klaro dun sa kontrata, kung ano mangyayari, if this happens or this happens, it's better to ask. Okay, for example, magbubook kayo, Christmas party, kailangan nyo ng venue. Ask kung ano yung mangyayari, magkano yung deposit, what would happen if biglang nagkaroon ng lockdown, ano bang refund na pwede namin makuha, how can we do it, can we rebook it next time, can we book it in January? Ask. I think the most important thing, ang pinaka talagang moral ng story last year is we should find a win-win situation kasi lahat tayo naapektuhan. Lahat tayo nagkaroon ng disruption sa negosyo, disruption sa income, disruption in terms of our way of work. And it would be good to find a solution where everyone can manage to survive. So if it's not clear, ask, find a solution, find a win-win solution. I've said this before, practical point number 3, but I will just make it as a special point. Take note of cancellation, last cancellation date. Take notes of dates. You know, kung sabi nila ito yung last day of cancellation, lagay natin sa diary natin. Mr. Laragan's question earlier, kailan ba yung last day before I post? Take note of that. You know, take note, have a look around, read your terms and conditions. If you are looking to travel, like myself, I think, like Mr. Laragan probably as well, keep an eye on the news. So in my case, I've been keeping an eye on travel restrictions as well as additional travel measures. So from day 2 PCR, naging pre-departure PCR, yun ang nilalagay nila ngayon. And also to where you're going, antabayan nyo din, bantayan nyo rin kung ano yung news doon. And so that, the reason for that is you can make the following decisions, yung susunod na practical points, kung talagang maiipat ka. Kung talagang, if you're going to be heading into a situation that you may have to cancel your flight, you may have to rebook your booking, then you get to do that at the earliest possible time, which paves way to practical point number 6. If there's going to be a problem or a likelihood of a problem, it's better to inform the other party in advance and ask for information. If it's a booking, if it's a booking for a holiday, if it's a booking for a venue or whatever it is, the best thing to do is at the first possible instance, usap agad. Ano ba option? Baka may ibang option dyan, or ano ba yung, what can you suggest? You know, how can we approach this possible change of rule again? Baka may restrictions na naman. So sometimes yung mga force majeure clause, the clauses on your contract, you can only opt for yung options, those options, if you inform the other party. You have a duty most of the times in those contracts to inform the other party straight away, and subsequently to also mitigate your loss. Ano ba yung mitigate your loss? So mitigate your loss means that, you know, if you can help it, you can reduce your loss as proportionately as possible. So, you know, if you were stuck for some, maraming na stuck in terms of traveling, and they, for some reason, something has canceled, nag-cancel yung flight for whatever reason because of some restrictions somewhere, but you are due to fly, you're allowed to fly, but for some reason you're due to fly, you know, you have a duty to mitigate your loss. So, you know, you may just get a reasonably priced hotel rather than getting the most expensive hotel. That's, you know, in order to, maybe you're stuck for 24 hours and you need a place to stay. That's one example. You know, that's mitigating your loss. So a lot of the contract, this is a legal principle. You know, when you are seeking damages from another party, the other party will always say, have you mitigated your loss? Have you taken a reasonable approach? Yun. I've spoken about this. The next practical point is try to find a win-win situation. You know, you put on your problem-solving hat. So you know, just because there's an issue with a lockdown, with the restriction, always say talk to them and say, what do you suggest? How can we, how can I maybe, maybe can I book it again next year? Or maybe, wedding venues, I think what people had done is to allow them, a certain number of rebookings without paying, or sometimes they allow them a certain period of time to rebook that. And then with a proviso, may na ano lang kung magla-lockdown naman, they're allowed to move it again. So it's more of trying to find the balance na pareho kayong magkaroon pa rin ng solusyon na maayos para sa parehong partido. I've seen that happen during the first and second lockdown. Lots of people were really trying to find the solution. This still works kahit hindi po lockdown, kahit hindi COVID-19. A lot of these practical points, tanggalin yung COVID-19, this is still probably how we lawyers approach these legal problems. You say, okay, ito yung legal position ko, and the other party's legal position. Most of the time, hindi landslide win yung both parties. So they try to solve the problem. They say, okay, how can we compromise? How can we get, to a halfway point na pwedeng meron ba ditong solusyon na win-win? Makukuha mo yung negosyo, you still get to have the business, whilst we can work with the limitations provided by the pandemic or by whatever events later on. If talagang ayaw makipag-settle sa'yo o ayaw makipag-diskusyon, I told you may mga spectrum, may iba talagang sobrang generous, sobrang proactive, very kind, very, very very caring for their customers. And you get the other people on the other side of the spectrum, little businesses now, who takes a hard stance approach now. We won't negotiate with you. We want to take the money and not have any leeway. And that happens sometimes. So if that's the case, make sure you have your evidence intact. Paper trail, receipts, and then yung sa tawag nila, attorney resibo. So keep your receipts. Emails, correspondence, instead of talking on the telephone only, make sure you have email correspondence, paper trail, text messages, WhatsApp, all of those. And if you've spoken on the telephone, ask them to confirm. Kung nag-agree sila to something, ask them to confirm it by email. So those are practical points. If you really can't talk, if you really can't settle, kung hindi madaan sa diplomasya, then you prepare your case, prepare your evidence. And then after that, get legal advice. Get legal advice promptly. Most contracts, breach of contracts, you have 6 years from the breach of contract to mount your legal claim, to sue the other party. But I don't recommend waiting a long time. Go get legal advice as promptly as possible. And finally, final practical point, learn from experience. When it works not just for COVID-19 in contracts, this works generally, for any legal situations. Not one case is similar, but you will see that, maybe, for myself, last time, before COVID, I wasn't so diligent in putting cancellation as mga bookings, mga bookings ko. I'm better now. I'm really, I'm much more vigilant about that. And the same with cancellation terms, much more vigilant about reading kung ano yung cancellation terms. It used to be, kasi hindi natin naisip nun life was very predictable before COVID. I think not just learn from our experience, kung may maririnig din kayong experiences ng mga kaibigan nyo, obviously do your own research, but see how other businesses have responded to them. keep an eye on the news, as I've said, keep an eye on what's happening. Ask people, so ano nangyari sa flight mo? Okay, paano ka nagka-refund? So, get your dagdag kaalaman day always. I think that's the motto of this. If we all pool our knowledge and information together, I'm pretty sure as a community we're gonna be much stronger. We can have this better, quicker problem solving. So kaya nga maraming mga mga blogs or community blogs. I can see that na sila yung nagtatanong, what are the experiences of other people on this? And other people would give their 2 pence. They would give, ganyan pala, ganyan pala. And you get a flavor of what's happening out there. You get to learn, most importantly, on what works and probably what wouldn't work. And this is on a practical basis. This is, we've spoken about the law very quickly at the start of it. But at the end of the day, what you want is a solution. And sometimes, the solution, it's a little bit different from what the law would say. The solution might be out of the box. It might be a bit more creative than that. So, don't be afraid to explore that. Don't be afraid to talk, to discuss, to negotiate, and hopefully, the objective is for all of us to be able to survive this pandemic. This whatever wave that we will probably face, and we can all survive this physically, emotionally, and economically. So lahat tayo, kita-kita tayo on the other side. Hopefully sooner than later.
Okay, wow. Ayan, nako. Napaka-extensive na ngayong attorney, no? But lumalabas on, you have to, sabi mo, read yung contract first, read cancellation terms. If you're buying something, read returns, the COVID policy, return clause.
COVID policy.
Malaking...
Keep an eye on the news. Keep an eye on the news kung ano nangyayari about lockdown restrictions and the cancellation terms talaga. So I think never in my entire life na lahat kaming yung magkakaibigan, we've had to really review yung cancellation terms and when is the last day to cancel. Staycations revolve around analysis. Kailan kaya mag-aano si Boris kung magla-lockdown? Kailan kaya siya mag-a-announce?
Hindi mo alam, tatsenchehin mo di ba? Because things change. Sabi mo nga, di ba, yung parang Spain, was it Ryanair? Sabi mo nga na parang proactive din sila dahil parang hindi magtatanggap ang Spain na pag hindi vaccinated a certain mga bata yata, di ba? Parang ganon. So ginawa lang, para wag natin complicated tayo. Sige, i-refund lang. Yun nga ba? Exactly. Yung Ryanair?
We did that. I think it's EasyJet or
EasyJet or siguro.
EasyJet or Ryanair. I think this is Ryanair as well. Kinancel nila lahat. Another flight carrier, not sure if it's Ryanair. Kinancel nila lahat ng flights to Morocco because of the uncertainty of the situation. So they are taking a lot more proactive approach kasi kung magdedebate sila with every customer, pareho lose yung situation.
Can we say sorry, Attorney. Kasi bigla lang nag-flash ang mind ko na paano ngayon? Kunyari gustong ikasal, halimbawa, parang very uncertain, volatile, sabi mo. Paano yan? Ang tao, they will have to be accepting, they will be parang accepting in their lives na, ay, dira, gusto natin magpakasal, pero pagka yun sa date natin, baka bigyan tayo ng cancellation, bigyan tayo ng ganon. Paano? Move ba natin? O,
exactly. I mean, wala tayong option pag sinabing lockdown That's the reality of life, isn't it? That's really the reality of life at the moment, that we all have to accept that there is that possibility. There's that small possibility na paano kung biglang nagkaroon na naman ng big wave and sasabihin ni Boris, okay, pwede kayo ikasal pero dalawa lang kayo. O kaya apat kayo with
Oo nga, no? Parang ang hirap magplano. Birthday mo, ano yan, December 30 yata yan, di ba? Tama ba?
Apo. Yes.
Okay, saan ang planong biyahe sana? You booked something? Saan ang plan mo sana?
Booked in Greece. I was
Greece
supposed
nga,
to
di ba? Greece. Ano ngayon? Ando ka ba sa parang nag-aalanganin? Anong situation mo? Let's not go far away. Just sa home lang.
Exactly.
Ikaw.
So, ako
Anong
po,
feeling mo ngayon?
when I
Anong
booked it,
cancellation may mga pa do sa iyo? Now that you
yeah,
booked
kukwento
it
ko,
for the
kukwento ko,
30th,
yeah.
anong merong option sa'yo in case something happens? For example,
Exactly. So when
are
I
you
booked
refunded?
no, not yet. I'm still going as we speak. So when I booked it, talagang at nasa forefront ng isip ko is to get place na I like, but also a place with a cancellation as close as possible dun sa date that I will fly out. That is bearing in mind what will happen. So yun yung isa sa sa mga consideration when booking. It's a bit sad, but talagang ganun talaga yung buhay ngayon. Talagang kailangan mo isipin yung cancellation. But yung aking flight ticket, at that time wala pang Omicron variant. So ako parang, that's fine, it's gonna be fine. Yun yung risk ko. I was like, I took the risk. It was like, okay, I'd like to go here. I want to go to Greece because they're unlikely to go on lockdown. I felt they're unlikely to go on a full lockdown compared to other places. And I thought, okay, sana hindi sila mag-lockdown just in case. But also, hindi ganun kamahal yung ticket na kung talagang magkakaroon ng problema, it's not gonna be so bad. At the moment, I'm keeping an eye on the news kung ano yung travel restrictions. So, it's still a go-ahead. Pwede pa rin. Still possible. Hindi pa po frustrated. We're gonna use our legal, hindi pa frustrated yung contract ko. It's still possible.
Okay, you weren't frustrated. Sabi mo, legal term yan, no? Performance of a contract.
Hindi pa frustrated yung contract ko. Hindi pa siya impossible.
Hindi pa frustrated, oo.
Hindi pa impossible. And wala namang force majeure kasi, hindi naman siya. Pwede pa namang lumipad yung mga aeroplano. Yun nga lang kailangan ko lang mag-PCR test. So, at the moment, the contract is still, it's still...
Okay. The contract's still there, but if it becomes expensive, like PCR test, like what we had, 100 plus euros for a PCR test, because then in August, coming back, the rule was we needed to have a PCR test, parang pre-departure coming back. So ngayon, you will be forced to go through. For example, if there would be more requirements, I don't know, wag naman itulot ng Diyos, biglang naging red list ka agad at you don't know how things are. Diba? You don't know how things are. Teka muna, nung binook mo ba yan, was it medyo maluwag na tayo? Wala na face mask dito sa UK. When was this? About 2 months ago? 3 months ago?
Wala na po. Maluwag na po tayo.
Exacto.
It really felt like, I waited for that moment na...
Yes.
Kasi I was waiting for Philippines to open up as well. Nasa red list din tayo ng Pilipinas. But I wanted to go somewhere na, alam mo yun, hindi not so expensive, but equally a bit warmer. Medyo unlikely to go on the lockdown. I think that was quite important for me. Na
Pero ka mga shortlisted countries na
may mga shortlisted na countries.
Most hindi likely sa Greece, for example. Plus maganda pa, you've never been probably there, no? So you chose it.
I've never been to Greece.
So
I
gusto ko rin
think
mag-Greece.
that talagang pinag-isipan ko talaga siya na bearing in mind COVID-19, it wasn't just gusto ko pumunta ng Greece. It was more of saan ko kaya gustong pumunta na I can survive, I can be okay.
Mas malaki odds.
Whatever happens
Pero yun nga, no? Never. Some companies actually were thinking about a face-to-face yung campaigns, no? Because some of the companies were heavily doing the, say for example, promotions online, no? Because of yung COVID. Tapos nung kala nila it was easing down dahil nga biglang pumasok ang Omicron. Ayun, biglang kaya ayun.
Gulat na gulat din ako kasi akala ko talaga yun na. Akala ko safe na ako. I waited. Because until the end, I was like, I'm gonna bite the bullet. I think we're safe. I thought that was it. I thought we're safe. Ilang days lang naman. It should give me enough time to... I left a couple of days before the start of work to give just in case kung ano mangyari, PCR test, that sort of thing. I thought I got it all planned, and then Omicron happened.
Wala kaya nga, yun nga, o nga,
Wala,
hindi mo
wala
alam
din.
eh. Oo. You
Wala
made the
din.
necessary plans, tapos biglang, no, kumbaga gumagawa ka ng chart eh, something messes it up, no? Bigla, o gumagawa ka ng plan, it messes it up, no? Pero somehow, ilalaban mo, until the last time when they say na hindi ka na pwedeng umalis, then, are you safe with your refund clause?
I have the cancellation on, I think the cancellation, titingnan ko kung ano yung cancellation in terms ng, I think I'm fine with yung booking because I'm pretty much may okay yung cancellation terms ng booking ng place. I think I'm gonna have a harder time negotiating with
Airline company?
With yung flight.
Yung
Nakita
flight.
ko, chinek ko na rin eh. Chinek ko na yung rebooking clause nila, mataas yung ano nila, yung
Ano to?
charges nila.
Ano to? EasyJet ba to, attorney? O anong airline to?
Wizz
Ryanair?
Air. Wizz Air.
Wizz Air.
Wizz.
Okay.
Wizz Air.
Yung travel namin ng August ng Spain, panlima, pang-anim na rebooking yun eh. Di ba?
Yeah.
Nare-rebook, tapos magsasabi sila, so nire-rebook. Minsan
Exactly.
nabigyan pa kami ng isa pang free flight, hindi ko na matandaan yata na parang
I think my issue, Mr. Laragan, is that mahirap maghanap natutuwa ako dito kasi I don't need to take time off work. Yun yung closure, Christmas closure between Christmas and New Year. So, the problem with just rebooking it another day is hanap ka ng time during working time na
I know.
libre ka.
I know.
So it's gonna be harder to rebook it actually. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, unless ma-red list kami. Pag na-red list, hindi talaga ako pupunta.
Pag na-red list.
2,000.
Paano kung pumunta ka ron, okay pa, biglang nagkaroon ng problema, yun ngayon, stuck ka ngayon doon.
Yeah,
Unless you can come back yata. Ang ruling naman dito, if you're coming from a red list country, you will spend more because you'll have to go for a hotel quarantine, di ba?
Yeah, you have
That's
to.
the
And they will
only
give
downside
you
of it.
Yeah, they will give you a couple of days to come back. They normally they won't close it straight away. The same with South Africa.
Oo nga, tama ka. O kunyari,
They give you
ganito,
4
i-close a few days, meron pang days na. Okay, tama, okay.
Period. So you're gonna have to bite the bullet with a higher rebooking fee compared to 2,000 of booking fee. So yun yung ano doon. You're just gonna have to.
We'll be praying. I'm sure everybody who are watching right now will be praying for the very parang no hitches, no? Walang no hitches na trip mo because it's your birthday special trip, no? And ako, the reason why I'm quite interested because I'm gonna take notes from you because when you're coming back, you can tell me, ito, dito kayo pupunta, dito, ganito, ganyan. So, at least, di ba, meron ka ng somebody who's been there. Ayan, no? I want to go to Greece as well. It's in the bucket list. So, okay.
It was
Attorney,
supposed to be a foodie tour sana. It was just it's just there to go and mag sightseeing and kumain. Ngayon, naging full-on logistical problem solving.
And you don't know how things are, when they're going to be happening, di ba? You cannot predict anything. Kaya nga, ngayon, in these times, which is a very abnormal times of our lives, no? Dahil kakaiba, this has never happened before, no? And a lot of things have been affected. Businesses, travel, lahat, work, no? Attorney, ito lang, may mga few questions lang dito. Mabilis lang, baka sakaling okay, ayan, sa Ayla M. Good evening, Attorney Dana, Sir Sonny. Nagre-rent po ako ng isang kwarto dito sa Tuting. Pinoy po ang landlord ko. My only concern po is yung landlord ko pumapasok po sa unit ko without any permission. This happened twice, kaya po I'm a bit bothered dahil may mga important things din naman po ako sa loob. Ano po ba ang magandang gawin ko from Ayla M? Quickly, briefly, what do you want?
Exactly. I think speak to your landlord. First of all, proactive approach. Ilock mo yung mga valuables mo. So take a proactive approach and speak to him. Pinoy naman yan eh. Sabihin mo, look, I need privacy. I have asked him, would you be kind enough to sign a license because license gives you exclusive possession dun sa area na yan. Saying that, mas maayos pa rin pag-usapan. And kung hindi na talaga mapapag-usapan, kung talaga matigas ang ulo, I really do suggest na maghanap ka ng ibang ano. Kung ayaw talagang makinig at talagang hindi irerespetuhin yung space mo, you're much better off sa peace of mind mo to find a landlord. And if you do find a new landlord, make sure may paperwork that you signed na nakalagay doon, exclusive possession ng particular area. Although it should be a given na exclusive possession yung kwarto mo. But in reality, yung nga may mga siguro akala ng landlord, maybe it's a cultural thing, akala niya bahay niya siguro, feel niya, he can go in there. So yeah, talk to him, also be proactive, make sure yung mga valuables mo, and then kung hindi talaga, I would suggest to find elsewhere, and then make sure by that time that and doon pa lang before you enter another contract, na mapag-usapan niyo agad na, uy medyo ako sa privacy. Ano yan may lock ba yan? The things like that, yung nakalock ba yung kwarto, is that okay? So yun ang ano. And kung sometimes, they may say, uy, kailangan lang namin i-check yung electricity. And that happens. Kailangan namin i-check yung smoke alarm or fire alarm. The right thing to do is to give notice to you. Sabihin na, oy, pwede kaming pumasok, in a couple of days time para i-check yung mga electricals, that sort of thing. That's absolutely fine. But they need to give you notice. Okay?
Ayun, give you notice, no? Pero kung tipong, hindi makukuha sa usapan, it's best to go to find another house, no? Baka naman sinicheck kung may boyfriend ka nakatago sa kama o sa aparador o di ka may inaalagaan kang pusa o aso doon. Or pwede bang attorney? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Pag-usapan nila kasi there are certain landlords na sensitibo sa pusa, sa aso, kaya boyfriend. Pero yung mga pets, real pets, people here tend to be a bit sensitive. Yung kumbaga may extra lang. So, pag-usapan niyo kung bawal.
Pag-usapan,
Bawal. Kung yun ang issue niya, at klaruhin niyo, you can't just walk in. Baka naman nakatapis ko,
Tama. Kung lalaki, baka ma-rape siya. Kung babae naman, baka masyadong mataray, di ba? Hindi mo sigurado. Pwede kaya, attorney, maglagay siya ng another lock na sarili niya. Pero pagka ganun, parang it's sending the message doon sa may-ari na kausapin muna. Hindi, kausapin. Huwag kang magsimula na to do something.
Baka kailangan mo mag-drill doon Kausapin mo. At kung talagang hindi madala, it's not gonna be sakit lang, mawawalan ka ng peace of mind dun sa dapat komportable ka sa bahay. So, yun ang
Tama, Aliyah. So, ayan, no? Talk, kausapin. Pag hindi okay, maghanap ka ng panibago. Pag napunta ka naman sa panibago, make sure yung possession, yung mga gano'n, no? Siguraduhin mo lang.
Possession, may license ka nandun sa kontrata, klaro lahat, alam mo na, check ko lang may lock yung kwarto, kasi alam mo yun, for safety and security. That's a reasonable requirement. Magkaroon ka ng lock sa sarili mong kwarto.
Tama. Okay. Alright. Next quick question lang dito bago tayo. Ito, last question natin muna for tonight, no? Meron pa isa pero next week na siguro. Magandang gabi po to both of you. Ako po ay nakapag-asawa ng isang British at meron po kaming 2 anak. As of now, we are not on good terms with my husband. My concern po is, kanino po ba mapupunta yung 2 anak namin kung i-divorce ko siya? As a mother, gusto ko po na sa akin mapunta yung mga anak ko. Sana po mabigyan niyo po ako ng advice. Ayan.
Alaya, ang starting point dito is...
Si Alaya ulit. Si Alaya ulit. Okay, good. Dami niya problema sa buhay.
Starting point sa UK, ang paramount consideration with any children issues is what is in the best interest of the children. And unless may mga safeguarding risk, it's already proven by science and psychologists na it's good for the children to have healthy, positive, meaningful relationship with both parents. Of course, may parent na tawag namin ngayon, live with parent, the main carer, yung tinatawag nila dati na custody. It really depends dun sa dynamics ng family. But even if may main carer, unless you can prove na may safeguarding issue, the other non-resident parent would have some form of contact dun sa bata. So it's not, it's not a kanino mapupunta yung bata or kanino sino yung mananalo. How the courts really approach it is what is in the best interest of the children. Ano yung contact arrangement na makakabuti sa mga bata? Sino yung main carer? But equally, how much time would the other non-resident parent would be given? Depende sa dynamics, depende kung ano yung possible, depende kung ano yung nakasanayan, depende kung ano yung who's working remotely, who's working day to day, Monday to Friday, ano yung mga practical considerations. So that's one thing. Kung may safeguarding risk, then it would have to be dealt with. But generally, unless may proven risk, it's positive for the children to have meaningful relationship with both parents. That is the approach of the UK courts. I would also say, and we are trained to say this, kahit gaano ka bitter, acrimonious yung divorce nyo, we would always have to advise clients, please, can you discuss children arrangement before you go to court? Because what you don't want really is for another third party, i.e. in this case, the court, to make decisions on your behalf as parents. If you can deal with it, if you can discuss it, you can use mediation, you can have a face-to-face. Sometimes, baka meron kayong kaibigan, common friend who may be able to mediate between you. It would be good to have a discussion first. If it isn't possible, then yes, you can have a resort to the court. But it's not about, and I'm going to say this bluntly, I'm sorry, I do say this, hindi lang sa Filipino clients, but with all clients of mine on children matters. It's not about you. It's not about what you want. It's not about what your husband wants or prefers or what he would like to happen. It is about what is the best interest for the children. We call it child-led, child-focused approach to a contact arrangement. That's exactly what the court will say to you. So that's not just for you, but also for your husband. That's what any family lawyer would tell you in the UK. So have a chat. The chat would be what is in the best interest for the children in this instance.
Okay, what is in the best interest of the children, no? Kung hindi masyadong best interest sa kanya, parang dapat dalawa sa dalawa, no? Both husband and wife, no? So you cannot gain exclusivity because you will not, hindi mo pwedeng pigilin din yung pag-contact din ng father, no?
Unless may safeguarding issues, unless talagang
may safeguarding issues.
Unless unsafe yung mga bata and it's proven na unsafe. If talagang you don't like each other anymore, you're a bit annoyed with each other, but the reality is that you're both good parents. My advice is, you're gonna have to talk about what is in the best interest for the children. How can you both have meaningful relationship with the children without exposing them to court litigation? Because it can be quite stressful for the children kung parte na sila ng court litigation.
Okay. All right. Meron tayong question kay Sonia Williams. Sabi niya, pagbigyan lang natin, feeling niya baka hindi related sa topic, pero sige, baka meron ka lang masabi lang dyan, attorney. Ayan.
Is it legal for a company operating in the UK to have their admin staff based in the Philippines? Yeah, absolutely fine. There's outsourcing. That's absolutely fine. I think, madam, if you
Is
can
it
outsource your
Barclays?
ability.
Oh.
Depende sa industriya. The caveat is depende sa industry. Several industries have, kumbaga, the financial industries have their own information, GDPR, how they secure information. May mga specific GDPR is for all industries. That's a rule for all, but specific industry policies also applies for finance, for law, for other matters, healthcare. But the caveat is it's not the starting point is not legal as long as you follow your own industry standards and your own industry expectations. But outsourcing has happened for a very long time. I think when you call I think BT gas na
Barclays,
ata.
HSBC,
Ang daming,
lahat.
ang daming call centers sa UK
Pilipinas.
that I've called, and I know for a fact na taga Pilipinas ang mga sumasagot na
Amazon, HSBC,
yeah.
Barclays. Natutuwa
Banks,
kasi
lots
ako.
of banks I think ako dati, I think one electricity company or BT Gas or I think BT a long time ago, even isang database, a technical support team nila is in the Philippines. So it's absolutely fine as long as they follow all information management rules, information system, and information cybersecurity policies that is applicable in that industry.
America, no? America, UK, puro That's the reason why ang India at saka Pilipinas naglalaban yung dalawa na yan. No? Sa mga outsourcing, no? So dahil nga yan ang ginagawa outsourcing. Okay.
Outsourcing.
Well, I guess marami tayong natutunan for tonight, no? Yun nga, no? Yung mga pag nagbibili kayo, i-read yung mga returns, no? Yung mga COVID policy, return clause. Ngayon ko natutunan, meron palang legal term na frustrated, no? Meron na palang mga prescribed. The action has already prescribed. Diba? Pag sinabing prescribe ka, sa gamot yun. Hindi, prescription. May sinasabi ka within 6 years. Tama ba yan? You have to do your claim, make your claim.
That's right, yes.
And if not, yung breach of contract. Kundi, magpiprescribe siya. Or may prescription. Yan, legal term na naman ho yun. So ngayon, frustrated. Ano definition ng performance of contract and frustrated is not gonna
para? You can't perform because it has been made illegal. It has been made illegal by the government. So you can't really perform kasi bawal na. Classic example, bawal tayo, di ba dati, lumabas or bawal tayo pumunta ng venue. We can't mingle.
May penalties.
Remember?
Monetary penalty,
Exactly.
Fine.
So that's
okay. So yun. All right. So, I guess, attorney, it's time for us to say goodbye. So, may mga shout-outs ka or tell them how they can get in touch with you? Go right ahead, please, attorney.
Yes, you can email me at d.quinto@tvsolicitors.com or call me at 01234-225-188. Again, it's d.quinto@tvsolicitors.com or call me at 01234-225-188. I just want to say thank you to Direk Pao, behind the scenes. Always thank you, Direk Pao, for sorting us out every Tuesday. Maraming salamat. And of course, kay Mr. Sonny Laragan, we don't show enough appreciation to you. Maraming salamat. You're always saying kind words about everyone else, but ikaw ang talagang pillar of community, ang pinakagwapo, pinaka-sexy, pinaka-romantikong broadcaster ng bayan. So maraming salamat po for keeping us all together during this time. It's nice to be able to have this little community, maliit nating tahanan, online na tahanan dito sa Filipino TV Europe. So maraming salamat, Mr. Laragan. We love you and we are very, very proud of you. Talking about, Filipinos to be proud of. Ikaw talaga yung nanguna.
Wow. Maganda tulog ko ngayon. Excuse me. Pero ikaw Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. But you, ikaw rin, equally, no? We are so proud of you. This is the reason why we're having this. Even if I created this or made way or facilitated all of these things, it wouldn't have any substance because the main substance is coming from you, a very young lawyer at the top of your firm, law firm, and a Filipino, no, raising the profile of Filipinos. So equally, I'm really proud of you, attorney, no, dahil sa nagawa mo and the information that you give to us week in and week out. Plus the love and the friendship and the camaraderie, ayan, that you give to us, no? Imagine mo, 2 years na natin we're doing this, and we've made friends, and we've got new viewers, we've got silent viewers, and they're there, no, with us, watching us, no? So nakakatuwa, and thank you. Maraming salamat din sa'yo for the information. So, yeah, I guess it's time for us to say goodbye, no? Goodbye, no? So, sa ngalan ho ni Attorney Danna Quinto, no? Sa kaalamang binibigay niya. At syempre, yung ating in charge of technical, no? Si Paula Perez. Ito po si Sonny Laragan nagsasabing thank you very much sa inyong walang sawang pagsubaybay sa Legal Advice Corner every Tuesday evening, no? Let's do it again next Tuesday, no? For another night of kaalaman. So, till then, Attorney Danna, me, and Pao saying good night, take care, and God bless. Bye.
Good night.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.